What is up, everybody? Welcome back to YouTube channel. As you guys can tell, the lights are off. I usually reserve the horror videos for October, you know, Halloween time, my birthday. But I've kind of been feeling for a little, shiver down my spine. So without further ado, today we are watching the messed up origins of Disney movies. Now this is going to be one of the first scary videos of the year. So, I can't wait. And without further ado, let's get straight into it.
We owe Disney some serious gratitude for pushing the art of animation and even live-action movie magic to incredible new heights. But in the process, they've created a lot of confusion surrounding folklore and fairy tales. Because Disney likes to tell stories that are heartwarming and inspirational.
I think I only know a few of them. I know the Little Mermaid one, that the origins is like messed up. Which one else do I remember from watching like old creepypasta videos when I was younger? I think it was just the Little Mermaid, Pinocchio. Yeah, we got Pinocchio, and I think that's about it. So hopefully this one tells us more.
Disney likes to tell stories that are heartwarming and inspirational, and that often comes at the cost of excluding the original tale's darkest and weirdest moments. So today I am going to shed some light on the major changes that Disney made to the stories they adapted, as well as some deleted scenes and fan theories. Mary Poppins might actually be a god. I'm just saying. Make sure to sacrifice those like and subscribe buttons to get more messed up Disney content in your sub box and recommended feed every week, and enjoy.
Okay, I just had to go make my room a little bit more darker. Now I'm actually scared. So you guys please watch this part of my my camera, and I'll constantly, be watching like this just to see OBS. So, cause I'm scared. But anyways, I did hear about the Mary Poppins one. She's basically like Pennywise. That was a theory. I don't know if it's true, but I did hear about that one. Anyways, let's continue. Alright, what's the first one? Quasimodo was tortured in the book.
One of the darkest moments in the Hunchback of Notre Dame movie is when Quasimodo is strapped down to the pillory at the Festival of Fools while being assaulted by the fruit-flinging audience, all for the unforgivable crime of being ugly. But in the book, his torture is a lot more brutal, and some might argue, somewhat deserved. Because while he is elected to be the Pope of Fools like in the movie, this isn't where the assault goes down. It actually happens after, when the perma-virgin Cloud Frollo sees the beautiful Roma Esmeralda has a thing for the strapping Captain Phoebus, he orders his adopted son, Quasimodo, to abduct her. And it doesn't go well. Quasimodo fails, gets caught, and his punishment is sentenced to be whipped at the pillory. Just like the movie, Quasimodo pleads for Frollo to save him from this painful humiliation, but just like his animated counterpart, the scumbag turns his back on his son. Also like the film, his savior ends up being Esmeralda, an even more generous gesture in this context, considering she was almost his victim the first time they met.
So was this one like based on a real thing, or is this more like just a story? Because I look feel bad for bro. This is kind of like if he had Down syndrome. He don't really know what's going on.
Now it's easy for us to see that Quasimodo was manipulated by Frollo and didn't realize the extent of how awful his actions were. But all the crowd saw was a deranged man who tried to assault a woman. So they thought they were witnessing justice.
Man, I feel bad for him, man. The Song of the South sucks?
The most controversial movie that Disney has ever made is Song of the South. It's so controversial that Disney CEO Bob Iger has publicly stated that it is never going to be on Disney+. But to be honest, you're not really missing out on anything because Song of the South kinda sucks. Don't get me wrong, the animation sequences are a lot of fun and really well made for the 1940s, especially those moments where the live action and animated worlds come together. James Baskett, the actor who played Uncle Remus, also gives a great performance that often gets overlooked because of the movie's questionable nature. But that is where the positives end, because the story of Song of the South is just boring. It follows a little boy named Johnny who's spending his summer on his grandma's plantation in Georgia. While he's there, he makes friends with Uncle Remus, an incredible storyteller who loves sharing the hijinks of Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox with the children who live on the plantation. The rest of the live-action sequences are a big nothing burger. A series of events ensues where Johnny repeatedly gets into trouble or comes close to it. In between these incidents, we're treated to the much more entertaining animated sequences where Brer Rabbit finds himself in similar situations but manages to scheme his way out of them. We get a little bit of excitement at the end of the film where Johnny is run over by a bull and nearly dies, but he's ultimately cured through the power of Uncle Remus's stories. So there you go. If you were worried about missing out on a Disney classic...
Hey, so why the hell is that controversial? That just sounds boring. Is it controversial because it's boring? Or is it because maybe it's the topic of the whole plantation, you know, Uncle whatever it was his name, I forgot. Was a controversy? I don't see it. Quick intermission. Sorry guys, but we are so close to 800 subscribers, and I really want to be able to reach it. So I thought, if we can get to 1,000 subscribers, I will shave my head. That's right, guys. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you guys subscribe. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, what's next? Pinocchio's first lie. Ooh.
One of the most memorable moments in Disney's Pinocchio is when he lies to the Blue Fairy and she makes his nose grow with every fib. Well, did you know this exchange was taken directly from the original story written in 1883? The original version is a bit darker though. After Pinocchio barely survives a mugging and murder attempt by the fox and cat, he's interrogated by the Blue Fairy about what happened to the precious gold coins that Geppetto gave him. The blockhead tries to lie to her, saying that he lost the coins when in reality they were in his pocket, and his nose grew 2 inches longer as a result. When he adds that he lost them in the woods nearby, his nose grows even longer, and then he changes his story, saying he...
Oh, hell no. Why did my camera just turn off? Whoa, I don't know. I don't like what's going on. Yo, why did my camera just turn off? And it always happens when I'm reacting to something scary. I don't know why, but it always happens. Yo, Allah, yo.
Saying he accidentally swallowed them when he drank her medicine. Ultimately, his nose grows so long he can't turn his head without running into the walls, and the Blue Fairy mocks him, saying there are two kinds of lies. Lies with short legs and lies with long noses. His lies just so happen to have long noses.
Okay, yo, I thought this video was gonna be way scarier or darker. This is not as bad. This is not that bad. They almost ruined Moana? Why?
Do you remember in Moana when she and Maui are attacked by the Kakamora, then she gets on their boat and says this?
Coconuts.
I have always wondered what the significance of that line was, and after learning about this deleted scene, I finally understand. It turns out that earlier in the movie, when Moana was still on the island and fighting with her dad over her freedom, there was going to be a scene where she took out her frustration by batting coconuts into the ocean. This was ultimately cut, however, because in Polynesian culture, that would be seen as extremely disrespectful to the coconut trees, the land they grew out of, and nature in general. Moana's line about the Kakamora being coconuts and that confident look on her face was a reference to her past experience whacking coconuts when she was angry, so this was an enemy she could easily handle. The original scene has never been shared publicly, probably because of its insensitivity toward Polynesian culture, but this coconuts line will always serve as a reminder of its existence.
Why they deleted it. Okay, here we go. Snow White and the Many Deaths.
The most iconic death in all of cinema history might belong to Snow White, but the poisoned apple that temporarily took her to the fiery pits of hell is only one of the methods the queen used to try to kill her. If you look at the Grimm brothers fairy tale, which Disney leaned on the most for inspiration, there were actually 3 murder attempts. One with a bodice, or vest, that she ties so tight that she can't breathe, another with a poisoned comb, and then finally with the poisoned apple. But
the queen was dead as hating on her own daughter.
There are other versions of Snow White too. For example, in a Scottish story called Gold Tree and Silver Tree, the evil queen pricks her daughter's finger with a poisoned needle. There's also an Italian variant called Maria, the Wicked Stepmother and the 7 Robbers, where a cursed ring puts Maria into a coma. The other Italian version...
I got a question. Were all those from the same inspiration, aka Snow White, or did they all thought about the same thing from different times in a different place? Because that's like, do we all think the same way? If that's the case, I didn't even thought about that. Maybe they all got it from the same inspiration, but it's weird how we have 3 or 4 different illustrations of it.
The other Italian version is similar to the Grimm's German variant, as the girl is killed with a comb, but this time her mom killed her on accident and the comb wasn't poisoned. it just penetrated her skull. I think the lesson here is don't use blades to comb your hair. But which method is your favorite?
The Jabberwock was almost scrapped? The
Jabberwocky is the most iconic nonsense poem from Alice Through the Looking Glass, which tells the story of a great warrior slaying a fearsome dragon fish-looking thing with an enchanted sword. But what if I told you the author, Lewis Carroll, considered cutting the illustration from the book entirely? The story goes that when the book's illustrator, John Tenniel, sent Carroll his illustration of the Jabberwocky duking it out with the sword-wielding heroine, it was meant to be the frontispiece, the illustration that greets the reader when they first open the book. But Carroll was seriously concerned about how nervous, imaginative children might react to it. The man went so far as to write 30 letters asking mothers if they thought he should keep it as the frontispiece, only use it within the context of the story, or scrap it entirely. And evidently, most went with option B. It's a good thing they did, too, because this illustration and the accompanying poem were later used as the foundation of the plot for Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland.
Yo, that was tough. Oh my god, Mowgli? Wait, Mowgli was in the original story?
Mowgli was a badass in the original Jungle Book story. We see Mowgli perform some pretty incredible feats in Disney's animated adaptation, but the original story reveals even more about his incredible abilities, both mental and physical. For instance, at the young age of 11, when his wolf brothers boot him out of the pack at Shere Khan's behest, he pieces out of there by tossing a bucket of flaming hot coals in front of them, and declaring that while he leaves now as a wolf, he'll return to them as a man, with Shere Khan's hide around his neck. Later on, when he moves into the village and the other children are making fun of him for not knowing how to speak well and these scars all over his body, he considers just killing them because it would be effortless, but he doesn't because the rule of the jungle states that it's unsportsmanlike to kill little naked cubs. My favorite example, though, comes after he kills Shere Khan. One of the hunters from the village tries to steal the hide from Mowgli and take the credit for himself, but all Mowgli has to do is signal for one of his wolf siblings to pounce on the hunter.
I'm not gonna lie, that's aura. That's it as aura. Yo, Mowgli? Where was his aura in the movies, yo? They mispresented him. Give him his aura back. If there's ever a Mowgli movie again, yo, break back his aura. Here we go. Mary Poppins was a god. Here we go. This is the theory I talked about earlier.
Mary Poppins might have been a Greek goddess in disguise. I know that sounds ridiculous, but let me establish first that the Greek gods do exist in Mary Poppins' world. In chapter 11 of the first book, Mary and the Banks kids go Christmas shopping with Maya, the mother of Hermes, the messenger god, and one of the 7 Pleiades, sister nymphs that followed Artemis, goddess of the hunt. But if Mary Poppins was a god, which one would she be? I'd love to hear your opinions on this, but my guess is Hera, largely because Hera is the goddess of family, but also because Hera is known for her most sacred animal being the peacock. Meanwhile, Mary Poppins is rarely seen without her iconic bird-handled umbrella. Not to mention, there's the sternness of Mary Poppins. People tend to misremember her as this bubbly, whimsical lady, but she had an edge on her that could be downright terrifying, much like Queen Hera when you got on her bad side. And let's not forget the east and west winds, which in myth are known as Zephyrus and Eurus, respectively. They, along with their northern and southern brethren, were depicted in the remains of the ancient Pergamon altar, pulling Hera's chariot into battle against the Titans. Not unlike how they carry Mary to and from her job at the Banks house. So what do you think? Is there any more evidence I might have missed? Comment your thoughts and theories below.
It's better than whatever theory I had, the one with Pennywise. Thunderberg's disguising as...
Thumbelina may have had the ugliest lineup of fiancés ever seen in a fairy tale. It's not uncommon for heroines in fairy tales to be betrothed to men they have no interest in. Sometimes the suitor is a king from a foreign land, and other times it's their own father. But Hans Christian Andersen's Tom Elise, aka Thumbelina, was almost forced to marry filthy animals. The first fiancé was a fat, ugly toad who was so unlovable that his mommy had to abduct Thumbelina to be his bride. Fortunately, she's saved by some animal friends before that marriage is officiated or consummated, but things go from bad to worse when a beetle whisks her away to be his wife. Their relationship doesn't last
being
long
so
either,
chopped, you
because
can't
all
even
the
pull a
Beatles'
human
buddies
gang.
berate him for bringing home this butt-ugly broad, and penultimately she ends up betrothed to Mr. Mole. In the movie, she fights for her right to marry a fairy, going so far as to walk down the aisle to Mr. Mole, before running away and taking down all of her fiancés in the process. But in the original story, she saved long before the wedding by her bird friend who inspired the Giacomo character. I'm happy to share that both versions get a happy ending though.
Aww.
Not only does she end up wed to a fairy king, but she gains fairy wings of her own. That's why you
Okay.
shouldn't settle, ladies. Your Prince Charming could still be out there.
That's it, you know what I'm saying? Any ladies, don't settle for worse. When you got the best right here, you know what I'm saying? That's it though, you know what I'm saying? Hit me up.
Although he may not be the 6-foot-tall stallion your Tinder bio demands.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm not 6 foot, but I'm 5'6". It's close enough.
Disney made some major changes to the original Little Mermaid story, but the biggest change was to its villain, because the original story didn't have one. You heard that right. It's
Really?
hard to imagine with how
Wait, what the hell
iconic
is
of
that?
an
Is that a
antagonist that
blobfish?
Ursula is, but in Hans Christian Andersen's original work, the Sea Witch was a neutral enabler. She turns the
Really?
mermaid human and doesn't show up for the rest of the story. Instead of a direct antagonist, the mermaid has other concerns. Not only is her transformation insanely painful, she had to pay for it by allowing her tongue to be cut out.
Oh, I
And there's a caveat that if the prince marries someone else, she'll die the next morning. Can't
Really?
forget that. Disney incorporated this caveat by having Ursula take on a human shape and bewitch Eric to fall in love with her so that she could hold Ariel hostage and manipulate Triton into giving up his crown to free her. That other woman character does exist in the original story, but she's not an evil oceanic drag queen in disguise. She's a wonderful
That's a drag
person,
queen?
and when the Little Mermaid does die at the end of the story, she mourns her death right alongside the prince. Yeah, the original story
Wait, she
is a
dies?
trip. If you want to hear the whole thing, check out my full-length breakdown on YouTube. And we're back, and the fact that you made it to this point makes my heart all warm and gooey inside. Which probably isn't healthy now that I think about it, so thanks a lot.
Well, I was surprised that the Little Mermaid dies. I did not know that, so that is new. But unfortunately, this wasn't as horror-based or dark as I thought. Some of these were genuinely just, you could have considered these fun facts. I'm gonna be honest. You could have considered these fun facts. It's not even dark. But I understand it, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to get that thumbnail. You're trying to get that title too. Hey, I do the same thing over there. I understand. Anyways, that is the end of the video. You know what I'm saying? You guys let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Or any dark stories that you guys want to share here, you know what I'm saying? Or just anything about Disney that's dark. Let me know. I want to know. All of that in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys like and subscribe to see some more. And let me know if you guys want to see some more scary videos, because I'm honestly down for this. You know, this wasn't as scary. I usually, what I did in the last videos that would be scary, I would, have to cover my eyes like that. This one didn't do none of that. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe so you guys can join my group of people, you know what I'm saying? When I go do IRL segments, or maybe even go into like a haunted place, these are gonna be the people that are gonna get whatever happens to me. They're gonna get my residuals when I die, you know what I'm saying? So if you want to be able to get any of the money from these videos, make sure you subscribe. But that is the end of the video, and I don't want to be scared anymore. So I'm gonna go turn on my lights and run away. Probably go outside for a little bit. So take care, everybody. Goodbye.